We'll ask either one or two. We'll see how much time we have. This is the one that I know you've got an answer for. Abe Achenbach, Kent, Ohio. Dutch was working the announcers table for what many view as the worst wrestling event ever, Heroes of Wrestling. Not for your commentary, though. But I think he was involved with one that was infinitely worse. JCW Legends and Icons by Insane Clown Posse. Dutch wrestled a 2.5-minute six-man tag team match.
Oh, my God.
Which was actually one of the better matches that night, and I assume that was a decent payday, especially for only working less than 3 minutes. Almost all of the matches were a few minutes long, and the audience was booing or silent for the entire show. And most of the wrestlers were so far past their primes that they didn't absolutely belong in a ring. What were ICP thinking? The show was embarrassing on every level, and the Ken Patera versus Bob Backlund match was especially hard to watch, with Ken being 70 and barely being able to move. What do you remember of the show, and what are your thoughts on the entire debacle? All the best.
I wish I'd have had a camera, a video camera, because thinking back on it now is like a dream. It's like a
nightmare?
Well, not like a nightmare. It was just a bunch of weird segments, not only in the ring, but in the back. Just like a bunch of weird segments, like it's dark and they got a light on. We wrestled at 8 o'clock, I think, and then we wrestled again. We did a late session, and it come on at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I wrestled the latest match I'd ever wrestled and the earliest match I'd ever wrestled at the same time. It was over about 4 o'clock in the morning. Those people were so ripped out of their minds watching it. And sometimes it'd be dark out there, and they took a spotlight and they would just spotlight all over the crowd. It didn't make a damn bit of sense. So, but they were doing it. They were paying me. Remember, go along to get along. And I said, do it. I don't care. So we had a 6-man tag, and the guy called me up and wanted me to do it, but he said, we'll pay you this. I said, well, hell, I won't come then. Why? I said, I'm not coming for that. He said, what will you come for?
Do you know who was in it? I've just found who was in it. And it was a 5-way match, apparently.
It was my little buddy, Black Brickhouse Brown. Who else?
Brown. Austin Idol. So he won, unsurprisingly, because he don't do the job there, Daddy. Doug Gilbert, and you, and Coco Beware.
And I put it together. Because for me to get my money, the guy said, well, will you help me put it together in the back? I said, yeah, you give me my money, I will. It was just not a lot of hard work. So I'm thinking, okay, Austin Idol is here. Hey, Daddy. And then you had who? And yeah, Idol, and Coco. I'm trying to think who my partners were.
No, this was a 5-way, so no tagging.
No, we had 6 in it, didn't we?
No, it says 5-way.
Well, okay. Okay, it was a 5-way. That's how much I remember it. You know what I told them who to beat?
You?
Beat me, and I don't have no bitches and no griping. Why they beating me, man? We was up in the middle of goddamn nowhere, up in Indiana or somewhere. The town had 300 people in it. We had with a bunch of juggalos out there that were stoned out of their minds. And all of a sudden they would look at the ring and they'd see a bright light, and they couldn't stand the bright ring lights, a light being that. Nobody was going to remember this. Or not. Just beat me, guys, and let's go. And let's do it in the quickest way possible. Let's get in the ring. Let's all start fighting. And the people didn't see much of me. We all disappeared into the crowd. Then we'd wait for the spotlight to come, see our next step. And then we'd go back. And then all of a sudden, I got in the ring and 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, ding. and then we left. I had Idol beat me, I think. So And then we come back, and that was it. That was the match, and ain't nothing to say. Oh, let's go do it again, because it was the damnedest cluster I've ever seen in my life, really. But there was my money. Okay, get in the car. Well, I actually rode up there. Guess what I rode up in there in? A limousine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a limousine. Somebody said, "Hey, I can get this limousine and we can pull up." I said, "Well, get it."
Kenny Bolin who rents it for you, was it?
It wasn't Kenny Bolin. It was some other guy that worked at I think he worked at a funeral home. It gets weird. And he had use of the limousine. So it was a
Sure, it wasn't a hearse. Did it have like one great big seat?
It wasn't a hearse. It wasn't a hearse. It was the big limousine that the family rides in.
Oh.
It is not the hearse. But I rode in a hearse too. We'll tell this story another time. I rode in a hearse all the way to Memphis. But we'll tell that at another time.
I'm writing it down for next week.
But we all rode up. It was me, and it was a friend of mine that I was training. He did a Bruiser Brody lookalike. Great guy. And he was a musician. And we had Doug Gilbert was in there, I think. And Brickhouse met us there. And Road Dogg was there. I remember Road Dogg was so effed up when he got there. I was trying to hide him out, go over there in the corner and sit down. And we got there kind of late because we're out in Indiana at like 1:00 in the morning. And we couldn't find how to get this place. We weren't on the earlier show. We was on the late show. So we pull up, and how can you be, they had like 20,000 people there. How can you go and look for 20,000 people out in the woods and you can't find them? There was no lights. There were no nothing. It was Oak Grove or something. See, they didn't even have a police department. So you pull in and they got some cops there. What are you doing? Oh, we're performers. We're okay, go ahead. And they didn't check you for drugs or anything. And I finally found out how they got the drugs in there. All the drugs were sold after you went in. And I'm thinking, well, how'd they get them in here? You know how they got them in there? They went like a week early and went in there and buried the drugs.
That's an old festival trick. Yeah.
And they put them in there. Nobody can catch them. I didn't learn it to that night. And then when they get there, they just dig the drugs up and start selling them. And the ones they don't sell, they put them back in the ground and cover them back up. So when they leave, you don't catch them with nothing. But they were catching people leaving with the drugs on them. I says, and they loaded the jail up that night, but all they were going to do was just fine them and let them go anyway. And so they made some money because they was mad at the festival anyway, because it was on a private farm and they didn't rent anybody that anybody could make any money on. So they were kind of pissed at the festival anyway, but it was crazy. So I wish I'd have had I think I wrote about it in one of my books. I forgot the name of the chapter, but it was wild.
Well, we haven't
but Road
Dogg,
the name of the book. I don't know. I got them right here, but I don't know.
The World According to Dutch and Tales from a Dirt Road, available at Dirty Dutch Mantell with 2 L's Dog.
But this is what happened to Road Dogg. He was so messed up that he was late, and as soon as he got out of the car, they said, go, go, go. Your match is in the ring. It's a 6-man tag or something, and do this and do this. And so he's messed up anyway. He goes to the ring. He's out there maybe 90 seconds, and they have it build up a little bit so the people could see. And it's a step off. You know, you got your ring, the ring that the actor sits on, and it's got a little apron with dirt in it. And then it's got a step off to the rest of the dirt floor. It's all dirt. He stepped off early and hit his knee on one of those 2x4s. And they had just took him out there. Somebody took him out there. Said, okay, there's the ring, get in there. So he got in there and they started having it. And then he got hurt. I swear to God, about 90 seconds later, they're bringing him back. I know he'd cut his knee bad. So he pulled it down, and for the rest of the night, of course, we didn't have a doctor, none of that stuff that could help us in case we had a heart attack or something. There was no doctor back there. And somebody taped it up and new skinned it together. And when we got ready to leave, he had his knee all taped up and it's still bleeding. And we went back. Oh, it was crazy.
Let me just looking at this event, some of the matches. It opened with a 15-man battle royal that went nearly half an hour.
Yeah.
Right, so Brutus Beefcake, Carlito, Disco Inferno, Doink the Clown, Headbanger Mosh, Headbanger Thrasher, Jim Duggan, Jimmy Snooker, Rikishi, Rob Conway, Ronnie Garvin, Tony Atlas, Eugene, and Viscera. And the Battle Royal was won by Zach Gowen, who I imagine...
leg.
Yeah, well, both legs have to touch the floor. So maybe he won on a technicality.
That sounds just like what they would do.
Following that, the Rock and Roll Express defeat the Midnight Express, Bob Eaton and Dennis Condrey in 33 seconds. So that must have been
that was a Dennis Condrey finish.
Yeah. Rhino and Too Cold Scorpio and Al Snow and Balls Mahoney and Raven and Sabu and Shane Douglas in a 7-way match. Rhino wins, and then there's the question asker.
Now I think that was the early show.
Yeah, it's in the first half of this card. After that is the much vaunted singles match. Bob Backlund defeating Ken Patera in I don't know,
whatever
catastrophe. It sounds like 5-way match that we've discussed with you in it. Singles match: Tracy Smothers defeats Tommy Rich in 36 seconds.
That's a Tommy finish.
Tag team match: guest referee Vampiro. Kevin Nash and X-Pac with Scott Hall defeat the New Age Outlaws, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg. Who was this the one where Road Dogg collapsed, or was this another part?
I think that was the early show. We had a late show at 2:00 in the morning. I think they got some of that all messed up.
And apparently the main event, according to Cage Match, Bob Orton and Roddy Piper defeat Mick Foley and Terry Funk in 4 minutes 14.
What town was that in?
This is, I'm in the field somewhere, I guess. Cave in Rock, Illinois.
Yep, that's it. But they had an 8:00 show, then they had a 2:00 show. I think a lot of those were mostly on the early show.
Mm. Ooh, do you want me to see if I can find the late show, or would that be...
I don't know, but even there.
Nah, we'll leave it. We'll leave it anyway. And also...
But it had to be Road Dogg missed his first match because he was in the second match. Or they put him, I don't know what they did. It was, I'm not going to attest to any of that.
And just because we will end on this one, you were also at Juggalo's Flash Night Wrestling, Hanging with Heroes, the year before in Cave in Rock, Illinois, where you wrestled. Do you know who you wrestled in a singles match the year before?
No.
Doug Gilbert.
Oh, I remember that. But that wasn't a bad match.
I think.
But I was trying to think. They had one year. They had this girl singer. And she went out there.
I remember what her name was. It Tila Tequila or something like that?
Tila Tequila. So I'm watching her go out there, and she must be so stupid. She kind of like slammed the Juggalos for being stupid. Well, they didn't like that. And they started telling her, you bitch, you this, that. And they started throwing stuff at her. And I forgot who she had out there with her. She had somebody with her that was trying to protect her. And they got to throwing bottles and everything, and the guy was knocking them down. And, you got to go out there and watch. You're out in the middle of a field, in the middle of nowhere. So it was crazy. Then she said something, and then somebody in the crowd, they started shouting, show your tits, show your tits. And then the crowd picked it up, show your tits. And the bottles were coming. She says, okay, wait a minute, wait a minute. And then she pulled her top up. And the people went, oh, we hate your tits. We hate your tits. So no matter what you did. And she finally got hit with something. And even one of the clown posses went out there, the bigger one, and called her up and said, hey, listen, just go in the back. We'll still pay you. Oh, no. I'll do my set. I'll do my set. And that's when she got hit. And I think it cut her head or something, whatever. And then they pulled her off. It was the damn. See, what they would do, they would go out and they would rent this farmland and they'd get it dirt cheap. Then they would go in there and set it up. And what did they call this? The jubilant. What was the name of it?
If the pay-per-view was Legends and Icons, was Juggalos Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, and that's
like
the
gathering of the Juggalos.
Oh, the gathering, and that was the damnedest thing. Like I said, I wish I had a camera, and they probably had a camera because this would sell. I mean, it's the craziest shit. I think some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen around a wrestling match.
Do you think? Oh, good. The entire video's out on YouTube. So it's JCW presents Legends and Icons Gathering of the Juggalos. So someone needs to hunt out and watch it.
What year was it?
I don't know what this video was, but the year you had your 5-way was 2011. Very, very quickly, because we're sort of going over time on this as well. Wrestling quality-wise, what was worse, Heroes of Wrestling or the Juggalo Gathering?
Oh, the Juggalos.
Worst wrestling event ever, quality-wise?
I think so. And then the other one is not far behind. Right. You know, I've been on some stinkers, believe me. But what was wrong with the Juggalos thing is nobody give a crap. They just did it because they don't take wrestling seriously. They take wrestling for, if you want to go out there and do a good job, you can do it. If you don't, and nobody cares. Would you care if you had to appear in front of a bunch of drunk ass the faces painted people sitting out there?
I would care.
And they're looking at you. They're looking at with eyes like this, and half of them asleep, half of them awake, some of them passed out.
I'd care very much about my safety. Yeah.
Well, we didn't. There's a bunch of damn juggalos. So, I mean, they're basically harmless, except when we pulled in, we was in that limousine, so it was hard to turn around and maneuver. But somebody said, hey, they just had a knifing up here. Some guy robbed another guy, and I went, what the hell are we in? But that's the only thing I heard. That was kind of bad. And then when we left, you know, the cops were really friendly. It's not, but the cops can't even come on the premises unless they're invited. And nobody invited them. That's why they could openly sell drugs. I went by a table one time. It had just a bunch of drugs. I still got a picture of it. You just got drugs like marijuana just laid out on the table and the prices, because the cops can't even go on the property unless they're called on the property. And they got a guy got cut, but still they didn't call anybody on the property, because once they're on, they're on. So they said, keep them off. They don't like cops anyway. So, but to me, if I was messed up there and I go there and I see all those people, I'd have freaked out. Tell you the truth, they look like, some of them look like they hadn't taken a bath. They go and they spend the whole week there. Some of them look like they hadn't taken a bath in like a week, and maybe not. But you know, this is the first time I've talked about this event in ages. And it brings back not bad memories, but it's just memories that I don't know how I forgot. I mean, I don't know why I don't think about this every day. But the two Posse guys, good guys. Because I remember them being in Smoky Mountain.
What?
I think they were in Smoky Mountain. They love wrestling. And I know they was in WWL for WWE. Right?
Unbelievably, they were in, I think they made appearances in WWF, WCW, ECW, and TNA. They managed to make appearances in all of them.
It was TNA.
Yeah.
Yes. Because they love wrestling, and this guy who put it together, he just booked a bunch of people because they must have more money than they have brains. But they may have sold so many tickets to this gathering that, hey, this is just another show for them. Some of those artists, because they could ask for 10 grand, and I guess they got it. So I don't know what Backlund asked for. I bet Backlund asked for 5 grand. And they could have said, because they're big fans, and they said, okay, come on. Well, I'd come on too. I didn't make anywhere near 5 grand, but I made a damn good payday that I didn't think that I got to ride 2 hours to get there. Okay, I can do that.
4 figures? Are we talking 4 figures?
Oh, no, we're not talking 4. Well, let me see. Yeah, we are talking 4 figures.
There you go.
Yes, we are. But nothing like drop down to the early 4 figures and you'll have my salary.
Hey, still for an experience in 4-hour trip.
No, yeah, but seriously though, you go there, you're doing something you know how to do. You know you're not going to get hurt. You're just going to. I mean, I'm not going to drive a truck, make this. I'm not going to do anything else and do this. So, and they're paying entertainers, so pay me, and they did. And guess what? And you got ready. Your money was right there. Here you go, just in packets. Here you go. Is it okay? Okay. So yeah, bye. And they didn't have it. Now, if you want to hear a bunch of bitching, have them go and stiff some of those guys. You never hear the end of it. And I don't blame him. If a guy tells you he's going to give you X number of dollars, he needs to give you X number of dollars. Because, if somebody had really gotten hurt in that ring that night, they had no medical personnel around. And I would think there had to be some on the premises somewhere, because you can't have a big festival like that with not having medical personnel there. They just weren't back there with us. So, but I felt sorry for Road Dogg, cut his knee. But on the way back, he wasn't feeling any pain anyway. So we got him back and we all went home. I got home about 7:00 in the morning.
A little bit richer.
Well, a little bit, yeah. But I enjoyed, I wrote a chapter about it in my book, and I got to see it firsthand.